All right, today we are diving deep, and I mean deep, into the world of the ocean's ultimate super athletes. We're talking about the titans of the sea, fish that are built for unbelievable speed and power. I'm talking about the magnificent billfish family, and we're going to focus on three of the most famous: the lightning-fast sailfish, the deep-diving swordfish, and the incredibly powerful blue marlin. Let's jump in.
So here's our game plan. We'll start by properly meeting these titans of the deep. Then we'll look at exactly how they're built for speed. After that, we'll see how they can live oceans apart, and then get into the really cool stuff, their skills as masters of the hunt. And we'll wrap it all up by seeing how a giant's journey begins from a single tiny egg.
So who are these amazing animals? Well, to put it simply, they're some of the biggest, fastest, and most impressive predators swimming in our oceans right now. The one thing that ties them all together, that signature look, is the bill. It's this long spear-like thing that comes right off their upper jaw. And, it's not just for looks. Not at all. It's their #1 tool for hunting. And as we're about to find out, each of these fish uses that tool in a totally unique way.
Okay, now let's get into their design, their anatomy. If you just glanced at them, a sailfish, a swordfish, and a blue marlin might kind of look the same. But when you get a closer look, you start to see that their bodies are perfectly engineered for completely different ways of life. So this is the big question, right? They're all super fast. They all have bills. But it's the little differences that make each one the absolute champion of its own environment.
This chart just lays it all out perfectly. Okay, first, just look at the bill. The swordfish has a flat one, kind of like a broadsword. That's totally different from the round, pointy bills you see on the sailfish and blue marlin. And then, the dorsal fin. The sailfish's giant, unmistakable sail is just in a league of its own, while the blue marlin has this high, pointed fin that's all about power. And get this, here's a huge difference. Adult swordfish don't have scales or teeth. That really sets them apart.
I love this analogy. It's a perfect way to picture it. The swordfish's bill is like a heavy broadsword. It's designed for these powerful side-to-side slashing attacks. The sailfish and marlin, they're using a rapier, a round, pointed weapon that's perfect for quick, precise little taps and stuns when they're in the middle of a chaotic school of fish. And here we go. This is probably the most dramatic visual difference right here, the dorsal fin. That sailfish has this enormous, absolutely beautiful sail that it uses to communicate and hurt its prey. Now compare that to the blue marlin's high, sharp fin, which gives it stability during those crazy bursts of speed. And then there's the shorter, more rigid fin of the swordfish, built for slicing through deep water. Each fin tells a story about how that fish lives and hunts. The swordfish is just a true specialist. It has no pelvic fins, which makes its body incredibly sleek and perfect for diving deep. It also has this amazing organ that basically works like a personal heater for its brain and eyes, which lets it function way down in the freezing cold depths. And check this out, it even has a special gland that releases oil to lubricate its head and cut down on drag. How cool is that? So, they're built differently, we know that. But do they live in different places? Let's take a look at their addresses on the globe. Well, the short answer is these guys are true world travelers. You can find billfish all across the tropical and temperate waters of the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Indian Oceans. They cover a massive amount of the planet. Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting. Even though they might share the same oceans, they don't really live in the same neighborhoods. Sailfish and marlin, they prefer to hang out near the top in the warm, sunlit waters. But the swordfish? It's the exception. It's basically a vertical commuter. It spends its days hunting way down in the deep, cold, dark water, and only comes up to the surface at night. So just how deep can a swordfish really go? An incredible 1,100 meters. That's more than 3,600 feet down. To put that in perspective, that's like stacking 3 Empire State Buildings on top of each other and then some. This ability to go between the warm surface and the freezing depths is what makes the swordfish so unique. So, different bodies, different habitats. You know what that means. These fish have developed totally different strategies for how to hunt and survive. Let's get into it. This is just fascinating to me. Sailfish are actually pretty social creatures. They often work together in groups to hunt their food. Swordfish, on the other hand, are the classic lone wolves. They'd much rather live and hunt all by themselves. And even when they're migrating together, they keep a wide, respectful distance from each other. Now, when we talk about pure, raw speed, there's one fish that just stands alone. The sailfish holds the record, folks. It is the fastest animal in the ocean, and it can hit speeds of up to 67 miles per hour. That is basically a cheetah of the sea.
So, how does a sailfish use that insane speed and that famous sail? Well, it all comes down to teamwork and strategy. First, they'll raise their sails to keep their heads stable. This makes their bills harder for prey to spot. Then, the whole group works together, using their giant sails to pack smaller fish into a tight little ball. Then, one by one, they'll dash in, slash with their bill to stun a few fish, and then just circle back to eat. It's a really brilliant display of cooperation. It's kind of hard to believe, but every single one of these ocean giants starts its life as a microscopic egg. Their journey from that tiny point to what they become is, well, it's nothing short of incredible. Just take a second to look at this number. A single female sailfish can release up to 4.5 million eggs in just one season. It's really a strategy of overwhelming odds, just to make sure that at least a few will survive to become the next generation of titans. And this is where it all starts. It's almost impossible to believe, but this tiny little larva, just 1/8 of an inch long, is going to become a fearsome predator one day. At this stage, it looks almost nothing like its parents. But they grow unbelievably fast. In just a short amount of time, the juvenile fish starts to develop those features we all recognize. You can see the bill getting longer and that famous dorsal fin starting to pop up. It's already starting to look like the champion sprinter it's going to be. This right here is one of the most amazing growth spurts in the entire animal kingdom. In just a single year, a sailfish can go from being a tiny fraction of an inch long to over 4 feet. That is just an absolutely explosive rate of growth. So what do we call them? Well, when you see a bunch of sailfish hunting together, you're looking at a school. There aren't any special names for the males and females, but fun fact, the females are usually bigger than the males, and their young start out as larvae before they grow into juveniles. So there you have it, 3 incredible athletes, and each one is a true master of its own world. You've got the solitary, deep-diving swordfish, the super-fast cooperative sailfish, and the powerful blue marlin. Each one is perfectly designed for its environment. It kind of leaves you with a question, doesn't it? Which of these titans really is the ultimate predator? That's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.